Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to SpawnCast, episode 4. It's Saturday night, so I thought you guys would enjoy having a little conversation with a couple other people. Now, you know, of course, Filip and OJ from PlayerEssence, but thought we'd go around here. Filip, how are you doing tonight?
Doing great. Doing awesome. Thank you so much for having me. How's everyone else doing?
Good.
Ad just played on that stream and like blew up my headphones. OJ, how are you doing, man? I've actually have not had you on anything before, so this is the first time I'm actually talking to you in not really person, but as close to person as you can get when either of us live on each side of the United States. So
yeah, definitely, man. I was actually really happy that you reached out because a lot of my users were saying, "Hey, you should do something with SpawnWave. You should do something with SpawnWave." Like over and over. I'm like, okay, like yeah, we will at some point. I'm pretty sure something will come up. So it always does. So yeah, I'm really happy. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Very good, Evan. How are you doing, man?
Doing all right. Just real freaking tired. Actually, had to work on a bunch of stuff for some gallery showing things. It just took a little bit of time.
Oh yeah, do you have any conventions coming up soon?
Small ones, nothing major.
Oh, okay. Are you hitting the New Jersey Comic Con?
Probably not. I don't think so.
Okay, because I think that's actually in like a week or something, wasn't it? Or was it this past? I think it's next weekend. Anyway, that's fine. That's fine. So a lot of stuff has been really happening in the video game world recently. We had the big Call of Duty 2 World War II leak, I guess you'd say, but there was some Switch stuff too that came out. Now, I do have to ask, OJ, did you get a copy of Mario Kart 8 sent your way?
No, I haven't. I had a Nintendo rep that I worked with, and she was always really good at getting me stuff, and then she left the company.
Oh,
and
that doesn't help.
Yeah, that doesn't help. And then I got redirected to someone else, and he is like super flaky. He like never emails me back and all that. So I haven't got a copy yet, but I'm I'm trying to work on maybe getting another one, getting a different rep, or just seeing what I can do.
Yeah, because it seemed like they sent it to like everybody on YouTube. But yeah. I didn't get one. But I wasn't expecting it. Don't worry, I wasn't expecting.
Well, they sent one to the like the big YouTubers got and like websites got the physical copies. And then they kind of did it in waves. And then like the second tier, or what they consider second tier, Nintendo YouTubers, all that, they got digital download copies. I don't think they got physical copies. They got digital download ones. So that's what I think. I'm not 100% sure.
Well, I talked to Game Over Jesse, and he got a digital copy. You're right.
Okay, so that's what they did there. Now that's what they do for some of the games. Now sometimes they switch it up. Sometimes they'll just give everyone physical copies. Like Tokyo Mirage Sessions, they're just like, screw it, everyone gets a physical copy.
Yeah, I need to spend more time emailing people. I never email people.
You just gotta be persistent. You gotta be a little persistent, and if you find a good rep that will like take care of you, then you'll be set. Like I was pretty much set for the last like 2 years of the Wii U. But if you don't have someone that's good that's helping you out, then you're not going to get anything.
I've openly mocked Nintendo at times, so I really don't expect much, to be honest. Now, there were Switches, of course, sent out at one point. I didn't expect that at all. But it seemed like a lot of the channels that did get them don't really talk too much about their YouTube policies at all, even good or bad. So I understand why I wouldn't get it. I mean, Evan made a whole slide so I could do some parody about it on like the second video I made. So
yeah, you definitely need to be careful with that.
I don't mind going out and buying the game. It really doesn't bother me. It's just it's a little funny. But
me, it's like a coin flip. Like if I get it, I'm like, great. If I don't, oh well, I'll go buy it.
Yeah, I'm fine buying it. I really have no problem going to get all. I'm trying to make my Switch collection pretty nice, like all physical stuff. I'm more on the physical train than anything else. But wait, Filip, are you buying all physical too, or are you mostly digital?
So far I've been mostly digital.
Okay, that's what I thought. I was trying to remember. I thought you said you were mostly digital. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a lot more convenient for me, especially because I like to always travel with all my games, and I'm always traveling. So
yeah. That makes sense. I understand the digital aspect. I really like that it's on cartridges. It's really appealing to me to buy it.
Yeah,
as a cartridge.
I agree too. Like even like with Pokken, and that was a digital copy that they got me, but I still went out and bought the game. So this is I wanted the physical. I just want the physical disc. So I am kind of like that too.
Absolutely. So, but we had a bunch of stuff that kind of happened over the week. Like I was saying, we had this interesting report. So the NES Classic was discontinued. Now we have not had a podcast since that happened. And did any of you guys manage to get an NES Classic?
I could have got one multiple times. I don't want one. I want a Super Nintendo Classic like that. Yes. Like I will, because that's my favorite system of all time.
Yeah, the Super Nintendo is a great system. It is. Yeah. I liked it a lot. That and the PS1, or I guess I could say the PS2 because I played PS1 game, were like right up there for me. Just the amount of RPGs on that PS2 and PS1 were amazing.
Super Nintendo and PS2 are my two favorites.
Yes. Super Nintendo had a good place in my heart. I think most gamers can say that if you're above the age of, I want to say, like 23, maybe 21, something like that. But Evan, you never got one, did you? I assume you didn't, because you would have told me.
Classic? Nah, yeah. Never actually got around to picking it up.
What about Philip? What about you? Did you end up getting one?
No, unfortunately not. I had an opportunity to get one like a couple months ago, but I just unfortunately didn't like take on that because it was coming from a third-party seller and I didn't really want to support it. It was a little overpriced, so I figured whatever. They'll make more, of course, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Discontinued.
Yeah.
I think the last shipment is coming in I think Best Buy will have some this Monday, so if you want one.
Yeah, I had to burn money to make a point on that, but yeah, I got fortunate. I did get one. I paid $100 on Craigslist for it at the time when it was going for like $200 online. I was very fortunate. The guy on Craigslist had watched my channel and reached out to me, and they happened to be near me. But they had it posted on Craigslist, which was really nice of them to take it down and sell it to me at what I think a fair price of $100. And overall, I've played it a couple times, but I understand it's really not. I don't think it's worth $300 at all for the 30 games that are on there, because you can easily emulate the games, obviously. But I think it really shocked a lot of people when Nintendo discontinued the system. And I tried to come up with reasons why, whether it was like a big advertising, kind of an advertising ploy to get the Switch out there in people's minds, the Nintendo brand. But I don't know, it really set people off. I don't know if you guys saw this online, but man, people were so mad about the NES Classic being discontinued.
Oh yeah, people were triggered. Like it was people got real mad. I personally, like, these are old games. They're like in a little box. It's pure nostalgic value, obviously, right? It's like you've played these games a million times over. You can play them if you want for. I mean, it's just that. So I mean, I try to not get upset about stuff like that, those type of things, because it's like they're old games. They're like 20 plus years old. You know, even if I don't get a Super Nintendo Classic, I'm not gonna go all crazy or anything if I don't get one. I don't get one, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like.
I actually want the Super Nintendo Classic really badly. So
me too. I mean, I really want one. Trust me, I'm gonna be I'm gonna be there ready, like when it, if I can get it. But if I don't get one, it's like whatever,
Yeah.
That's
so
the
now
one I'm holding out for more. Like the Super Nintendo Classic is, because I'm right in that age range too. Like that was one of my first consoles, if not the first console, and it's the RPG king, right? So, I mean,
they actually have a really cool opportunity here to bring over maybe an RPG that never came out in like America, like a Secret. I don't think they're going to do it because Secret of Mana, of course, 2 is probably going to be coming to the Switch if enough people beg them for it at this point, like I've been. But I think they have there's like Bahamut Lagoon. I mean, there's Emerald Dragon. There's a lot of games a lot of people did not know about that only came out in Japan. They could bring in like Mega Man and Bass or Rockman and Fort, if you want to call them that, and put it on there in English. So there's a lot of cool things that they can do with this Super Nintendo Mini if it's true, because we're still going off of Eurogamer's report about it. I mean, we're still waiting for Pokemon Stars, right?
Right. Yeah.
So who knows how far out in advance this Super Nintendo Mini is. We like to assume it's coming out Christmas time in November, around when the Nintendo Classic came out last year. But I think at this point it's all speculation. Let me ask you guys, what's the big game other than Mario and Zelda, for example? What's the game you would like to see on there that would really make you go, yeah, I'm going to go spend what I assume is going to be $100. I don't think it's going to be $60, because I think they know they undersold that NES Classic after seeing what people were buying it for. Let's say it's $100 when it comes out. What game other than like Mario World, Zelda, and Metroid would you want on there that would make you buy it?
Go ahead, Phil. You can go first.
Oh man, I don't know. I've got some like offbeat games that I grew up playing with on the Super Nintendo.
Sure. I mean, yeah, seriously, you could say Uniracers, and I'd be like, all right, that was a fun game.
Uniracers.
I think one of them,
man, these are all Funko Land games I remember playing. You could say any of them.
Oh yeah, I mean, that system had some really out there games, but like I remember, like, I mean, I guess one of them that's not too out there is TMNT, Turtles in Time, or whatever. Like that game, I beat that one 1,000 times, and I know it like the back of my hand. So I could definitely
made friends over that game.
yeah, and like I don't know, that would be so cool. Plus, something I'm not even a big sports fan, but I used to play. I think it was NCAA like '92 or '93, like all the time with my sister, and that was like an old school basketball game that was just like, phenomenal on the SNES. So stuff like that. I mean, I don't know. I don't even know what else. Oh man.
There's a lot. I mean, everyone's going to say, bring Earthbound, and that's fine. But
of course, yeah.
But OJ, what about you, man? What would you want over on the Super Nintendo?
To be honest, I mean, it would just be for pure nostalgic value. That's really the only reason why I would buy it. Not because I want to sit there and play the games like over and over,
Sure.
But what I'd like to see on it is stuff like, NBA Jam.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like things like that would be cool. I think, like, of course, Chrono Trigger's, Secret of Mana, like the standard type of stuff I would like to see on there. Maybe I don't know if there's one out there game on there, but just all the standard stuff. I know, like you said, Earthbound. So yeah, I just like to see some cool RPGs, see some of the classics like NBA Jam. Like that's one game that I really want on there because I think playing NBA Jam on the Super Nintendo was just something that was really special, especially back then.
Oh, the announcer made that whole game.
Exactly. There was nothing like it too. Like I remember when I first saw the game too, I wasn't expecting that. I never saw it like on magazines or anything. Like we just saw NBA Jam. We saw an NBA game. I was a big basketball fan when I was a kid. And I just saw that. I was like, I thought it was a standard basketball game. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know you flew up into the air and did all that. So when I first played, like I fell in love. So that was just like a surprise to me. So I would like to see that. Probably that'd be like the biggest game.
Ooh, Living Regiment says Mario RPG. That's a good one too. I would like to see Mario RPG in there. But
I've beaten that game like seriously like a million times.
It never gets old. It never does.
It never does.
Let me bring Evan in here. He's been kind of quiet. Evan, what game would you want on that Super Nintendo?
mean, with what we used to do in the old store, you obviously know the ones. Tales of Fantasia.
Yes, I know you want Tales of Fantasia.
The Violinist of Hamelin. I want the games that we never actually got because they were just interesting. The concept of the side-scroller RPG on a Super Nintendo. It was just really fun.
Yeah, let's destroy the entire retro game market and just put something like Hagane on there, the $300 game, just ruin its value.
What was it? It was like Lord of Dragons, the test that they put out for the Dungeons and Dragons side scroller beat 'em up game, like that we saw once at the store.
Oh, what was that? I'm trying to remember what that was called. That was the one where that so you got OJ, you may not know, Evan and I worked at like a retro game store for a long time. So we had like all these crazy things happen. So a guy kind of wanders in like almost like drunkishly, kind of like he's drunk, and he brings us, what did he bring us, Evan? He brought us
King of Dragons.
King of Dragons, that's what it was. King of Dragons and something else. I think it was Mario RPG. And we looked up King of Dragons. It's like a $90 game, and he wanted like $5 for it. And even like
all right.
But Evan didn't even have a chance to offer him money. He puts it down if I remember, Evan, you were like, I just need $5 for this or something like that.
Yeah, he was looking for smoke money off of it.
He was looking for cigarette money. That's what it was.
Wow.
Yeah. So we have a lot of stories with that. That's why when that story about roaches in the PS4 came out, I didn't talk to you, Evan, about that, but I put a video up about that, and we have some serious horror stories about roaches and game consoles getting repaired. But that was PS4s. I mean, we had that one, Evan, but for the most part, it was other systems that had roaches in them, from what I remember.
Yeah, but those systems have to work their way down to the people local to us that had roaches.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
because the PS4 that did have roaches, that was the family that took it over to the other guy's house. That was the problem.
No, that was the Xbox One.
Oh yeah.
Remember, because we found the whole hive of them in there, and we had to like run outside with it.
Oh, God.
Yeah,
that sounds horrible.
It was bad. Being a repair person is not fun. People seem to think it's fun. It's not fun.
It's always brutal.
Why would anyone think that would be fun?
Well, the thing is, it's interesting. This roach story came out on Kotaku, and Evan and I have known about roaches being in consoles and laptops and anything you think of. The only thing they don't really get into are tablets, probably because they're too small. But
no, they'll still get in there.
Yeah,
if the ports are big enough, they'll get in there. Anything warm.
I've seen them in 3DSs. I have seen them in a 3DS before. But for the most part, this has been going on forever. But Kotaku, for some reason, posts a story that's like roaches love the PS4, which is weird because realistically, roaches love anything that's warm enough and can house them, where they can like basically breed inside of and live in, incubate in. And we see it in. I mean, we've seen them as far back as PS2s. Having roaches in them, but for the most part, it was like 360s and PS3s would get them, but PS4s, for some reason, the power supply in the back would just attract them, and they would essentially shock and kill themselves in the back. The roaches would, and it was bad. So it's not fun being a repair person when stuff like that comes in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would only imagine. Yeah, I remember like my friend's Xbox 360 had a roach in it when we were trying to fix it too in college. So yeah, that was when I saw that title. I was like, just other kind of clickbaity, type of story. Like that's something that's been known, for a while now at this point. So
Is that a problem that's like particular with just game consoles, or does it actually happen in VCRs or
anything
TVs?
electronic, anything that gets warm?
Yeah, the laptops were really bad. Yeah, well, laptops were really bad too. I remember there was a laptop that came in, and see where we were in for a while. We were in Delaware, then we moved the store to Maryland. In Delaware, though, we were close enough to a town or a city, a town, I guess call it town, Wilmington, and they had kind of like Section 8 housing, kind of, where it was not it was very, there were very poor people there essentially, and they kind of lived in conditions that would attract roaches, I guess. So one time, someone dropped off a laptop, and I remember one of the coworkers pointed out that it probably had roaches because you can smell them very easily. So I take it out back, pop the palm rest out, the part where you rest your palms and type on the keyboard, for example. Probably 20 of them in there just alive and running.
That's disgusting.
Yes, right where you rest your palm. Yeah, so I'm not trying to gross people out in the chat because there's a lot of gross in the chat right now. But just know that it's not always roses and unicorns when you repair stuff. So if you do want to get into electronic stuff, just be ready to fight off some bugs occasionally. Sometimes there'll be a dead
plastic
spider.
bags.
Yes, plastic bags, trash bags especially. But getting from there, now I asked a lot of you guys on the subreddit, what would you like us to talk about on the podcast while we were on here? And most of them, they really posted that they wanted us to talk about the Switch Mini and how apparently a Switch Mini is coming out, mostly because one analyst said so. Now, I did a video on this, just trying to figure out their point of view and how they thought this would come to the market and why. And I don't think the analysts understood that their time slot was correct, I think, in 2019. I don't think they know why, but the X2 will probably be at a consumer level at that time. But the big thing is they seem to be going in the opposite direction most of us probably would have with a refresh, where we would think that they would try to make something like, let's say, a Switch XL, right? They're thinking more about kind of doubling down and make it like a Switch Mini for younger kids. What do you guys think about this whole Switch Mini situation?
Evan, you can go ahead and go first. What do you think?
I mean, in terms of consoles, I imagine, especially since this one's a handheld, they might go for a mini, but I'm thinking along the lines of it might be a little different than a Switch itself. Like, it might almost be a handheld-only version of itself, like a carry-only version. So, I mean, if they're going to go that route, I could see it. It would probably be cheaper. And integration-wise, we could see interesting things like using the Switch Mini as a controller for like a full-blown Switch as well, like what we were looking at prior when people were using, I guess it was the 3DS and the Wii U, some of the games interacted, where you could actually see them different, like on the different screens. And that could be kind of interesting, especially with how it's trying to become a more communal thing, since you can move it so easily between places. So that could be cool.
Yeah, I guess I'll just jump in, but I think I see the Switch Mini like as a definite possibility. I think it's a smart direction to go first before they go in an XL direction, if they ever do. But if they do end up doing a mini version, I think the only way it would really be, or it could ever really work, is if the Joy-Cons themselves, like, they weren't detachable, kind of like what I think, Evan, is that what you were getting along to or going along to?
It would just be a straight up mini system, almost.
Right. And then, like, you know, almost exactly along the lines of something like a GBA, like screaming GBA, you know what I mean? But at the same time, you could still dock it, which I think would be really interesting. And then also, I don't know if you guys have done a lot of remote play with PS4 and stuff. I remember, like, when I first got my PS4, I didn't have a second controller for it, but I had a Vita. So I would play like Mortal Kombat with my friend, and he would be remote playing on the Vita, and I'd be using the controller, kicking his butt. So, like, I think that, you know, it's totally a possibility. I think that's, you know, something like a genius idea. So
okay, yeah, sure. What do you think, OJ?
Yeah, that's what I would think if they were going to do like a Switch Mini. It'd be just like a handheld. It would be essentially like a PS Vita. That's what I would think it would be. It would essentially just be like a PS Vita. But I would also agree with Evan and say that you'd be able to dock it to and just play on the TV. It'd probably be cheaper, maybe like a $199 type of deal or something, because it's like less moving parts. Maybe you don't have all the Joy-Con stuff into there. That will reduce the cost quite a bit right there. You know. So yeah, that's what I would think they would do if they were going to do it. I mean, especially for the Japanese market. I mean, I know some of the Japanese market, obviously Switch is doing well there, but like some people want a smaller one. Some people there want maybe a smaller one. So But yeah, I mean, we'll see how it is because the Switch is already pretty big. So I mean, I don't know how much bigger they could make it really. So
yeah, it is pretty large. I mean, it's a 6.2-inch screen. So I think the biggest they would take it is probably a 7-inch screen. And really, is it worth remanufacturing the whole thing for what 0.8 inches of a screen?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think so personally, but the only reason I think they would do that is if instead of, for example, I guess doubling down on the battery, they keep the battery the same and try to use the additional memory bus to push the resolution on your handheld screen to 1080p with the X2. That's the only reason I would really see them even going that route, is if they know that they can push more power through it and make that a straight 1080p image, on the handheld. What's this? Oh, Super Metal Dave's in the chat.
What's up, Super Metal Dave?
What's up,
Dave,
Dave?
how's it going, man? How's it going? He said OJ is amazing with 3 videos a day. Nice. Dude, OJ is working, man. I'm telling you. He's over there, man.
I'm working, man.
Yeah, dude, you like news will break, man. If I can interject here. News will break, and dude, you are on that. Like you are quick to get that up, man. So I gotta give you that, dude. Especially if it's like Switch stuff, obviously. Man, you get the info out there. So
I try, man. I try. Thank you. I appreciate it though.
Like I said, there are times I'll watch your channel and be like, oh, wow, that's cool. I didn't know that. Like, I didn't know that. I'll only pick like 1 or 2 talking points, and you got like all the info already there. So,
yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Definitely keep it up. So the Switch Mini, right? That's what we're talking about, the Switch Mini. So no, I think their marketplace is there if they want to do that. But at the same time, my wife works as a preschool teacher, and she tells me that probably 5 or 6 kids have iPad Airs that they bring in, and they're 5 years old. And an iPad Air is what, like a 9-inch screen or something like that, 9.7-inch screen. Mm-hmm. So I don't think the Switch is too big. I think there's just too much that can go wrong if you give it to a child. Like the Joy-Cons detaching, I think, is one of the biggest issues for a kid to deal with. For example, they can't make the Joy-Cons smaller. They would have to mold it, like you guys have already alluded to be like a Vita. That's fine. As long as the price point makes sense. I think they could even take the dock out of it, much like they took the chargers out of the new 3DS XLs, for example, and make the price even cheaper. Maybe you can get down to that weird 180 or 190 price that the 3DS XLs.
That's what I was thinking that they would do. Like if they were going to make like a PS Vita Switch type deal where it's like connected, I would think that they would take the dock out and just be like, okay, well, if you want the dock extra, you just buy the dock extra. Sure. Just drop the price. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Like I've used my I don't use my dock much. I will say that. I use my dock to stream, and that's about it. I usually play in handheld mode, to be completely honest.
I'm the exact same way. It's just like pretty much 90% handheld mode for me. Yeah. Because, like, I don't know, just that convenience factor, you know what I mean? Like, being able to take that around with you, even just around your house, is amazing. So, but I imagine the Switch Mini only happening once they're ready to phase out the DS line, right? Like, because that would essentially almost become like their flagship handheld if the Switch was considered their console.
No, Did you watch my video? You're hitting all the points I made. So.
Yeah. Really? Which video?
Point. Yeah, you were right there with it, man. It was. I think I did it was this morning. I'm saying you're hitting every point that I was making with the 3DS having that marketplace right now for like maybe the kid. Like it can obviously take a little more of a beating than the Switch because the screens aren't exposed. I think that's why they want the 3DS around right now, is for the younger kids to buy and the adults buy the Switch. Because the Switch obviously is a more complex piece of machinery than the 3DS right now. But I think, like you said, when they're ready to move away from the 3DS, maybe in 2019, because, I mean, games are still showing up for the 3DS, so they're not ready to write it off yet. I think you will see some kind of iteration of the Switch. What would be cool is if they come out with a Mini, and then they come out with an XL, something a little more powerful for the power user. And, I mean, it's almost like how they released a 2DS and then a 3DS XL kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So as long as they don't get rid of its core function, which is the dock, obviously being able to be docked, not necessarily including it, but once you take away that function, it kind of defeats the whole Switch name. So I would assume it can still dock.
Yeah.
Yes.
If they're going to call it the Switch, like, so if this thing is called like Switch Mini or whatever, then yeah, it will have that switching now. And if they call it something else, then maybe not. But if they're going to call it the Switch Mini or whatever, Switch, the next in the Switch line, which I think that they would, obviously, since it's a popular brand, right? It's it's really popular. People like the name. It works and it's simple, So yeah, I don't think I think they'd keep that, like you're saying.
Yes, the Switch is extremely popular right now, especially in Japan. Now, we did get some interesting sales numbers. These are, of course, from Super Data. I know, OJ, I know you know all about this too, where they came out and said that they believe, estimate-wise, that it got to about 2.4 million in its first month. Well, 28 days, really. Not really. Oh, R. Potter donated $10, Evan, towards your Switch.
Yep. Slowly getting it.
Thanks, R. Potter. Man, he does our timestamps actually, so thank you. What was I talking about? What was I talking? I'm sorry, I looked at the donation in the chat. Anyway, we're going through the sales numbers, and we get to a point where Super Data says 2.4 million in its first 28 days at the marketplace, which is massive for the Switch. And Nintendo, of course, ramping up production, so that falls in line with it. But the biggest thing is, in Japan, the Switch continues to sell allotments. So it sells like you saw this, OJ, right? 45,000, 41,000, 45,000. As they come in, they just sell right out. Like there's no switches anywhere in Japan because it keeps selling through. The only reason we can really talk about Japan is because Media Create seems to report numbers every single week, not just like MPD seems to report every month for us at this point.
Every month for MPD.
Yeah. So in Media Create, we at least know that, and it looks like the Switch is now coming up to the point where the Wii U started to drop a little bit in Japan, but the Switch seems to be holding completely steady. And I think it's a trend that's going to continue because at this point, when I look at the Switch, it looks like the system that Japanese gamers desperately want. If you look at it, I mean, there are so many pictures of people on the train in Japan with their Wii U, and it's like they desperately want that Switch. So I do think it's. I honestly, at this point, I would not be surprised if the Switch, seriously, in a year and a half, passes the PS4 in Japan.
Really?
That's definitely a possibility because the problem with PS4 and the Wii U and just stationary consoles in general is that it really doesn't fit the lifestyle for the Japanese consumers. It just doesn't work as well there. So yeah, I would definitely think that that's a possibility, especially with Splatoon 2 coming out this year. That's going to be really big in Japan. I mean, we saw what the just to go on the whole Media Create thing. We saw as far as the data goes, Nintendo somehow shipped a couple more before the week of the global test fire, and the Switch sold 78,000 in that for a global test fire in Japan. You know, so they got a little bit more stock because they knew Splatoon was going to be big there. So that they actually shipped 30-something thousand more, or sold 30-something thousand more than they would have. So Splatoon 2, the launch obviously is going to be big. And then when we finally do get that Pokemon announcement, that's obviously going to be Pokemon, Monster Hunter, Yokai Watch. When those three comes out, if they can get those in that first year, then I would definitely say 100% it will pass with the PS4. If those three games come out in a year or year and a half's time, then yeah, we will definitely.
You can throw Dragon Quest 11 in there if the Switch version comes out in the same year too.
Exactly, Dragon Quest 11, but I'm mainly talking about I guess exclusives for Nintendo. So I mean, if they get those three games, then definitely 100%. Then I would agree that it will pass a PS4 in Japan. But obviously, there's worldwide. We'll see what happens. But yeah, it's just better than Wii U. It's better than Wii U, and it's actually charting better than what 3DS did as well in Japan. So it's doing better than Wii U and 3DS. So that's good.
Realistically, I don't think there's any way that the Switch will do. I think I can see the Switch getting, I should say, past the Wii U's lifetime overall sales, probably in its first year and a half, definitely in the first 2 years. And really, at that point, I have to imagine that's a win for Nintendo in the boardrooms.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's still the fastest selling Nintendo console of all time, right? So
they keep talking that. Yeah, they keep saying that. Now we'll really know because in about might even less than a week, their quarterly reports come out for investors. So we will know down to the dollar or how much they made on their Switch units and how many they sold. So it will be very interesting when those numbers come out because we're still missing regions in the world. I mean, we don't know anything about, for example, Canada, I don't think, or Mexico or Australia or other parts of Europe, right? We don't know anything about any of those right now.
No, all we know really is just the US and we know Japan because those are the two major markets for Nintendo. So we don't know. Nintendo hasn't given us any data as far as Canada or South America or certain. They've given us certain parts of Europe. Like we've gotten certain parts, but we haven't gotten like the full scope. We've just gotten France and the UK, and that wasn't even from Nintendo themselves. That was from I think who said that? I think Nintendo of France did say that. Nintendo of France, they like to talk a lot. Yeah. So Nintendo of France will say stuff all the time, but like the other places, not so. All the other places in Europe, not so much. So. We'll see.
Living Regimen, thank you for donating $20 to the Evan Needs a Switch Fund.
Can you guys inform us? Are people helping them get a Switch? That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
it's our office Switch.
So here's what's happening, and I think why so many people want this to happen. Evan has not bought a game console since the PS2. He has been a PC gamer pretty much since then. But the Switch, he is very interested in. He told me it's the one system he thinks that will then bring him back to the console world.
Yo, shout outs. Let's get this man a Switch. Get this man a Switch.
He refuses to download the CMU emulator or anything. He just wants to get a legit copy of Zelda and Switch and play it and go to town. So
nice.
I was like, you know what? If that's going to get you back into the console world, let's figure it out.
Hey man, like as long as anything to get you back in, that's gonna. But I think his story is also very similar to a lot of people who've just been PC. Like I've actually heard that quite a bit from some of my users. Like, hey man, I've just been playing PC for the last like 10 years. Like, but this Switch has me really interested. Like I bought one or I'm going to buy one. So
yeah.
Cool.
So I'm happy that Evan can do that. And honestly, at that point, then when Mario Kart comes out, we can roll some serious.
Yeah,
Mario
it
Kart
helps
action.
us because that'd be great to experience the online play once they get that set up. We'll actually be able to post up videos about it with you and me being generally in the same area and seeing how the latency is and stuff.
Yeah, so it'll be
pretty cool.
It'll be a good time, and then we can of course do the whole everybody plays like viewers and YouTubers and all of us play together. So it could be a lot of fun, I think.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. A lot of the people who have the game already are playing online, saying that it's great. Like Andre from Game Explain, he's been playing, and Direct Feed Games has been playing. So they're also it's great.
Let's be realistic here. It's Mario Kart. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a good time.
Honestly, yeah.
I was a little shocked though on how much higher it rated than Mario Kart 8 on the Wii U. I thought it was going to be very similar, just like, hey, people are going to give it, like 8s and 9s, but people are giving it like 9.5. Some people are giving it 10s. I mean, it's rating really like higher than I thought. I didn't expect it to rate that high.
Well, I do think so. I think Mario Kart's going to obviously do well sales-wise, but I think a lot of people have to remember the Wii U, like I said, did not sell well, but I think there's a lot of people buying the Switch that are interested again in Nintendo, and they might not have had a Wii U. So Mario Kart is like a new experience to them. Maybe not to some of us who have played it on the Wii U, but it's a new experience to them at this point.
It is for me, actually. I never had a Wii U.
There you go.
So, yeah.
You never had a Wii U?
No, I never had a Wii U. I had a Wii. I skipped the Wii U, though. And, the Switch is bringing me back to Nintendo, or brought me back to Nintendo. I mean, I have a Switch channel. So
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Hopefully you're not getting too off topic here. Spawn, are we getting too off topic? But I want to ask Philip a question.
Go for it.
So what, like, you said you skipped the Wii U. Why did you skip the Wii U, and like kind of what brought you back to the Switch?
That's a great question. The Wii U itself, honestly, I just wasn't really into Nintendo at the time. They kind of lost me, to tell you the truth. They lost me with the kind of games they were putting out, and their representation of the Wii U was just so confusing to me. I was honestly one of those people that wasn't really sure if it was a full-on like new Wii, like a Wii 2, or if it was like, just like a actual console or like a Wii 0.5 or whatever. So for me, when I saw the Switch and they unveiled it, it was very clear the representation of it, and also the fact that it's a portable. I'm a huge portable guy, and like the Wii U, as far as I know, like you couldn't really take it into the next room without losing connection if you wanted to like.
Yeah, it just depends on your walls, I guess.
Right, exactly. Like we don't live in paper houses, know. So we're gonna have connection issues. So like the Switch for me, like that's what. Everyone's been saying, obviously, the Switch is what Nintendo originally wanted to do with the Wii U. And I think that if they were able to do that, they obviously never would have had a problem. The technology wasn't there then. I guess it's here now, and it's amazing. And it's bringing people like me who Nintendo lost with the release of the Wii U and who were gaming like 100% on Xbox and PlayStation. They brought me back. And, now... like look at how dusty this thing is. I haven't touched it in such a long time. You know what I mean? Because I'm glued to my Switch.
I think that's the best. I think the biggest thing you can take away from the Switch launch is just how good Nintendo's marketing was for the entire Switch. Because the Wii U was kind of a muddy picture to I think to a lot of people who weren't like really into the scene at the time for what it was. Because when they first showed it, if you remember, they didn't even show us the console at first. They just showed us the tablet at E3. I remember this. We had to go online and really try to find the console, and eventually they posted it online. But for the people who just kind of watched it at E3, maybe read an IGN article or something, it was very unclear as to what the Wii U really was. Was it just the tablet? Was it the console? And I think they really wanted the Switch to be around, 5 years ago, but the technology wasn't there until NVIDIA kind of ramped up production and research on their SoCs that they have now with the X1, which really just made everything possible at this point.
I think Nintendo kind of tried to forced it a little bit, right? Maybe it was a little bit early. They kind of forced it a bit, and the device that they made necessarily didn't live up to even what they wanted to do, with it. And the games that they showed off, even like really early, like Xenoblade Chronicles, right? Xenoblade Chronicles X and Tokyo Mirage Sessions at the time it was called, just Shin Megami Tensei Cross Fire Emblem. Those games came out 3 years after when they first showed it off. So it kind of just showed you that Nintendo just didn't really have things ready, and there was a couple things that I wish they would have done was kind of port over some of the older or the end user like Wii games,
Sure,
and like port those over to have something at the beginning of the Wii U's launch, and they never did that. So I think they lost a lot of people because they didn't have those type of games. And like Philip said, the style was just very. I mean, Nintendo Land and New Super Mario Bros. You have
they launched.
Minigame collection and platformer, it's not really exciting. I guess not really exciting for someone who's looking for like the next like big 3D game, like a Zelda or like a Mario Odyssey, or stuff like that, so.
Exactly.
Sure.
The Wii U launched with like 30 plus games that were the majority of them were like, remakes or whatever, like Batman Arkham Armored Edition, right? Like the majority of us sort of probably played that already on PlayStation or Xbox or whatever.
I played it on the 360, I think.
Yeah, like in fact,
that was a great game on 360, by the way. I love that game.
And I think like one of the flagship titles for the Wii U was like Super Mario Bros. U, right? But other than that, like they didn't really have anything else. Right? Was there another game on here that I'm missing?
I'm going to say the fact that you can't remember is kind of telling. I'll say that, obviously. But I mean, there was on the Wii U. It's just I think a lot of people missed it, and I think they're really going to enjoy it on the Switch because a lot of the games that are going to show up on the Switch are going to be not ports or anything, but they're going to take like a Xenoblade and show up on the Switch, stuff like that. So I think people will really enjoy the Switch, despite missing out on the Wii U possibly. So.
Yeah, I would love for them to port all of those Wii U games over, like Donkey Kong Country. I'm a huge Donkey Kong fan, and that's one of the games actually that I would love to see on the Super NES Mini. But
there was I think I played Zombie U at the beginning of the Wii U's life too. That was good. It was okay. There was just some issues, but it was okay overall. I thought it was an interesting concept with the gamepad and all that. But yeah, other than that, really they had those games and like you said, a bunch of ports. But yeah, let's hope that I think they're doing a much better job, like everyone's been saying with the Switch as far as how things are going.
So there's a couple other things that were going on. The other big thing was we talked about this briefly, but the entire marketing promotion for Call of Duty leaked, and it leaked online because somebody keeps taking pictures, and we don't know where this is, which retail store this is, but somebody at a retail store like a GameStop or something, they keep taking pictures of promotional materials that get to them. They took a picture of World War II Call of Duty like a week and a half ago. It gets announced that Call of Duty, yes, is going back to World War II. So this person has promotional material that's coming to them, and they got new promotional material that's come to them that says it's going to be like you're going to be storming the beaches of Normandy. Kind of what they did in Call of Duty 2, but of course there's more technology now to where they could probably make it more like a Saving Private Ryan type scene, because they also have a little more liberty with their rating being mature now. So it's going to be very interesting. They're going to have co-op story that's specific to co-op. They're going to have a full closed beta that's happening. But the biggest thing that people are noticing is that there's no marketing for the Switch currently. And a lot of people are concerned that there is no Call of Duty going to the Switch. Now, I think if we get to November when Call of Duty is supposed to come out and the numbers continue like they will, I do think Activision would be a fool not to try to tap into that market. So I do think that there is something planned right now, or at least in the works, whether it's either a version that is kind of modified to play on the 720p screen and on the dock at the same time, differently, whether that's to change textures or anything. But for the most part, they either have to put a Call of Duty on there or maybe a spin-off of Call of Duty that is specific to the Switch. What do you guys think about Activision's Call of Duty? Do you think it'll make the Switch release?
You guys can go first, then I'll give you guys I'll give you a reveal, okay, for your podcast. So I'll let you guys go first, though.
Okay. I would love to see Call of Duty come to the Switch. I think it would definitely help push some console sales. I don't think there needs really, honestly, any help to push any console sales, but I think it would turn on a lot of people to maybe think about buying a Switch who weren't interested in the first place. But I don't think that Activision is going to do anything until Nintendo stabilizes their online infrastructure, because Call of Duty, I mean, let's face it, that's basically an online game for most people. So if we do see it on the Switch, I think Nintendo's going to have to be ready with a good way to invite friends and a party system and chat and ways to support those players.
Right. Yeah, we're still waiting for the details for online, which I assume we'll see at E3. But what are you thinking, Evan, about Call of Duty? I know you're not a big Call of Duty fan, Evan.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, anytime someone brings up Call of Duty, I always just imagine the camps that we kept hearing about or seeing or reading about, where it's the people who hate where it's going, the people who preferred what it was and just want the old ones to be remastered and remade. Just all that stuff. So, I mean, if we're looking at this and it's going to be going back to the World War II stuff, at least we'll be able to see where I guess the game really birthed from. Like, that's kind of the true classic of it. But do people really want that? Like, at this point?
I mean, they say they do, but that's the thing. Here's the thing about the internet. There's always people who want either side of the coin, and you're never going to make everyone happy. So when this World War II game comes out, there's going to be people who like the futuristic Black Ops 3, and they don't like the I guess they're going to call it archaic World War II weapons, when really, if you enjoy like a historical story, like an original historical story, like Assassin's Creed, for example, you probably will like playing through like Call of Duty and going through the beaches in Normandy, maybe going through wherever else they go in Europe as your unit kind of marches forward. And if they do things like introduce, unique characters and set up a good storyline that kind of interweaves with historical events, I think could be really cool. But you're not going to make everyone happy. That's just the way it is. It's the way it's always been. So, but OJ, what were you saying about Call of Duty, man?
So I first want to say that the box art is hot trash. Like, that's probably the worst box art I've ever seen. Look, I talked about this too. People were telling me, like, why are you talking about the box art? Because it's trash. Like, have you guys seen this box art for this game?
That's him where he's kind of resting his his chin on his hands.
In which they
fake. Yeah, I didn't think it was real.
You thought it was fake?
Yeah.
It was funny because Randy Pitchford, the guy who Gearbox dude, he did like Brothers in Arms and that was like they completely ripped off that box art from that game. It's like almost he put it side by side together. It was like I just want to put this here, and they completely ripped that off. That's horrible box art. But look, box art doesn't make the game, right? But I will say this. Now this isn't something that, please do not take this as 100% because it's not. I do have someone saying, and like I said, I haven't said this to anyone else. I was talking with someone.
Sure. Well, take this with a grain of salt, right? Is that what we're trying
to say?
Yes. Okay.
Get your grinder out.
Yes.
But there is a developer. I don't want to say who the developer is because then that can give away the sources. But there's a developer that made that would port over games from different studios for various hardware. Okay, this is known as one of those developers that you would just give them a task. So like a bigger company would say, hey, we want this game on here, usually a licensed game or something like that, and they would port the game over to whatever platforms. Okay, and apparently this developer is doing that for Call of Duty on the Switch.
Interesting.
It won't be revealed when the other systems are being revealed, like with the PS4 and Xbox One. Maybe look forward E3 reveal. But Nintendo and apparently Nintendo and Activision have a fantastic relationship, and even with Call of Duty,
they do.
We saw two of them on the Wii U, and a similar thing happened with Ghosts. Now, Ghosts was revealed. Was on PS3, Xbox 360, I think even PS4, Xbox One. I'm not 100% sure, but it was revealed, and it wasn't on the Wii U at first. Right. And then later, it was revealed by like a 25-man like dev team. Like it was just random out of nowhere. Like, oh yeah, it's coming to Wii U too. And like they showed a picture of all the developers, and they were all smiling with their Wii U copies of like Ghosts. I mean, it was like 20 people that ported it over. Some small team. So apparently, something like that is happening. This developer has worked on licensed products and stuff like this beforehand, and they will be handling the development of Call of Duty on the Switch. So that's just what like I said, rumor. Do not take it with 100%.
It's good. It's good to know that it's possibly out there because there was a lot of people that asked me on whether it was in the comments or on the subreddit that we have, if it's possible to move a game like that from the PS4 to the Switch. And yes, it is possible. It's very possible. It depends on the engine that they run. But Call of Duty has scaled better than I think a lot of people remember, considering if you consider the original Black Ops was on the Wii, like the original Wii. not even like the original Wii, and it was also on the 360 and the PS3, and it played okay on the Wii. Which, by the way, the jump between the Wii and the original Wii and the 360 is bigger than the jump between the Switch and, say, the Xbox One. It just is, because the tool sets are essentially the same if you use something like Unreal, for example, and NVIDIA has provided quite a bit on the back end that the Wii, for example, didn't have when trying to port games to that from the 360. So yes, games like that are possible. If you go and look at something like Snake Pass, like I've beaten this to death, but Snake Pass, or even Lego City Undercover, which, by the way, used a custom engine. It's not Unreal, it's a custom engine. And at times it runs better on the Switch than it does on the PS4, which is mind-blowing if you really consider that. And I think if the developers really put the time in and it's in their mind worth it, they will make the game run on the Switch. They'll figure it out.
Yeah, and that's what I don't understand when people say, "Oh, well, can it do it?" Did you guys see all of the 360 to Wii games? I mean, we got, what was that game? Dead Rising. Dead Rising, a game with tons of zombies. I mean, obviously the Wii version wasn't as good, but they made it on the Wii. They made Dead Rising on the Wii, and it worked. The original, you said Call of Duty Black Ops. There was actually even Call of Duty 4. That one was also on the Wii as well. That was the first one that came out, and it was essentially the same game. With some drawbacks here, obviously graphics and like certain online features. But I mean that, like I said, the gap was even bigger. So if they want to make a version for the Switch, they'll make one. If they don't want to, then they won't make one. It's really that simple. If they want to get a developer to make one on there, they'll do it. If they don't, then they won't.
I mean, keep in mind, Medal of Honor Heroes 2 had 32 players online on the Wii.
60 frames per second on that one too, right?
Yeah. It's ridiculous. Like, if they want to, they will make it work. And the Switch, realistically, with the tool set it has, which some of the tool sets on the Switch are more current than what's on the PS4 and the Xbox One, believe it or not. It's doable. It's completely doable. Like I said, go look at Snake Pass on either one, and it's a little shocking how close they are.
And I'll let you guys know who the developer is, like, after the podcast.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine.
I'll message you guys later. Just so you know, I'm not just making something up for your podcast.
Oh, no, it's cool, man. I want to believe it's coming out on the Switch. Now, I will be honest and say that if it comes out on the PS4, the Xbox One, and the Switch, I'm not personally a big Call of Duty fan, but I would probably get it on the PS4 overall. But I would be very interested in the Switch version just to see how it holds up. But I would probably be more inclined to get it on something like the PS4 Pro, for example, because I am looking at 4K TVs now. And that would just be, I think, would be a little more interesting to me. And I probably wouldn't play that one on the go as much because I had this issue with the Vita. I bought Call of Duty on the Vita, and it was not as fun as I thought it would be in a handheld first-person shooter game. It was just weird. Now, that's not to say the Switch one won't, because it has more options, tabletop mode, Pro Controller, all this stuff. I just feel like a shooter like that, I would be more interested in playing on a big screen TV with the big set pieces that I'm sure they'll include. But that's just me personally. I'm sure the Switch version will still do well, mostly because everyone will be really excited that Call of Duty is there.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll see. Like Philip said, they have to make sure that the tool set is there and all of that. The online is there for it. But I think just, like if I was to get the game, I mean, I'm not sure if the Switch is the right place. Like PS4 and Xbox One just have so much more stuff for the online games. So I think a lot of people are probably going to think the same way, and it's just going to obviously do much better on those systems,
Yeah, I don't think that the entire Call of Duty fan base is going to move over to the Switch at all. I think the place to play Call of Duty is probably PlayStation or Xbox, wherever they have exclusives.
PlayStation has the exclusive again this year,
right?
For Call of Duty.
And Destiny, right? So yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Destiny. I'll be getting that on PC. Yeah,
I want to try that on PC. Look at this, huge fan right here. But yeah, no, I think that I don't know. There's a good chance of it coming to the Switch. I think it would be a great idea. Like, I don't think it's gonna, like I said, be like a gigantic wave, but it's gonna be a really good sign that more and more third parties, bigger third parties, are coming to the Switch, and that's what it needs. We need Assassin's Creed. We need Call of Duty. Like, sure, I love Nintendo games. We all are stoked for Mario Kart. We all love Breath of the Wild. But it'd be cool to see some other third parties coming in, bigger third parties releasing some bigger games and actually, building that library and bringing some life to the console.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I don't know. I'm ready for, I have the Switch kind of carved out in my mind as the system I really want to play every RPG that comes out on.
Yes.
For some reason, I don't know what, like, I'm playing Persona 5, right? On the PS4 Pro. And every time I'm playing it, I'm like, this is fun, but man, wouldn't it be great if it was a handheld? For some
It
reason,
would have been
always
so
in my
much
mind.
better. It would have been so much better on it. I mean, it's not only you. It's even PlayStation games that are saying that. Like, this would have been better on a Vita or on a Switch. Like, Persona 4 Golden is the highest selling Persona game, well, before this one. Persona 4 Golden. Yeah, on the Vita was the higher selling in the PS2 version, which the PS2 had, 160 million units.
Yeah.
PS Vita had 12 million, or 15 million? I don't know, something like that. But Golden sold more than the PS2 original version. So, I mean, that goes to show you how well that formula works. I mean, it's a turn-based RPG. You're just pressing the X button. You know what I'm saying? You're doing the social stuff. Like, you don't need to sit in front of a big TV for that. It would just work so much better lying down in bed, if you have the remote play or just on a dedicated handheld,
Well, that like I keep talking about the Switch, but the sleep button on that is amazing. Even if you're playing an RPG and you just got to kind of stop for a bit, like when we were in the hospital, I had to hit the sleep button a lot, but I was fine going back to it 10, 15 minutes later, and everything was still picking up. Has Been Heroes has actually been one of my favorite Switch games recently, since until Wonder Boy came out. I've been playing a lot of Wonder Boy, but I would just sleep mode and walk away, come back, turn it back on, and I'm back where I am. And it was just very convenient. So an RPG almost feels, I don't want to say old, but archaic playing in front of a TV now. It's a weird feeling.
I'm a complete lazy. I'm lying down on the ground. I am lying down on the ground while I play Persona. Honestly, I'm lying down and my daughter's right there. She'll watch, and I just play it with one hand. Like, this needs to be on something else. It's gotten to the point to where I don't know where my Vita went. I think I gave it away. I'm not sure. I couldn't find it, so I'm buying another Vita. It's coming in the mail just so I can play this stupid thing, remote play.
Did you used to have a Vita and you got rid of it? Or?
I used to have a Vita, but I don't know where it went. I had a Vita. I moved. The Vita's gone. I'm not sure. It disappeared. I have a PS Vita TV. I still have that, but that doesn't help me in this situation. So I might just buy another Vita. It's coming in the mail. So
it's a good system. It's worth having just because of the RPGs that are on there. There's some good ones. They moved a lot to it, so I'm pretty happy about that. So overall, that's and then there was an interesting. See, I want to talk about the Scorpio while we're here too, because the Scorpio is interesting in that it does not make a ton of sense. But I understand that Microsoft is at least trying to release a new system that can, I guess, help them in the marketplace. But there was an interesting post on a retail site. I don't know if you saw this, OJ. I know you keep up to date with the news pretty well, but there was this interesting leak of a price point of $399.9 for the Scorpio.
Yeah, I saw someone link that to me, and I'm like, this isn't the official price. He was trying to say, oh, this is the price. And I'm like, no, that's not the official price.
It's probably a placeholder price, but it does bring up the question that I don't think. I just don't see how they could get it out at that price. I do still firmly think it's going to be $500. Michael Pachter has actually come out and said if it's above $400, the thing's dead in the water, which I don't believe. And I've actually sent Pachter plenty of messages on this, which he probably has no idea what's going on when I send messages.
Message him on Twitter. Sometimes he'll respond back on Twitter. Have you sent him anything on? Oh. Yeah. Message him on Twitter. Sometimes he'll respond back on there.
Oh, cool. Okay, good. So I don't think if it releases above 400, it's dead in the water, but I do think if it releases above 500, it's dead in the water. Now, I don't know if anyone else other than myself is going to buy a Scorpio on this podcast right now. I don't know if you guys will.
I want to hear Evan's take on this. Evan, what is your take on, since you're a PC dude, what's your take on this Scorpio? I really want to hear what you have to say.
I mean, by the time it comes out, especially for people who actually try to follow PC and keep up to date with it, there's most likely going to be a card that's already going to be better for it, more powerful, and at the price a little bit lower, most likely, than what the overall system is if the price points we're saying are going to be a thing.
Well, the Scorpio seems to be on par with, say, a 1070, for example.
Yeah, and by the time it really lands, we should be able to get those fairly cheap, and then it's just a one purchase upgrade, and I don't lose my library of games. I don't have to change over and do anything else. I can just keep going from there. It's not a big deal. But the system itself, I'm just not interested in it at this point, because with 4K gaming, I know we talked about this at the store occasionally. You are going to need a specific size screen, and I don't really want a massive screen down here to really get the emphasis of 4K. Because if you're playing 4K at 30 inches, you're really not going to feel it.
That's true. Now, you would feel 1440, for example, which I still think is a better resolution for the value and the performance, I think 1440p is a better resolution than 4K right now, because we're still struggling to get 4K with, say, I don't know, a GTX 1080, for example. It's not 60 frames all the time, which is, I think, what they're trying to accomplish here with Scorpio. But the problem that they're running into, and Phil Spencer's already said this, and it was probably not the best idea to say, but maybe he's just trying to head this off when it actually comes out. He doesn't think the Scorpio is going to sell well, which is weird for the head of Xbox to say, but he doesn't think it's going to sell well. And I could have told him that as soon as they announced it, mostly because the PS4 Pro, while it's not as powerful, obviously, we know that, but it does 4K. Now, the way you make your system successful is by attaching to the mainstream. I think everyone can understand that, and I think the Wii pretty much proved that you don't need the most powerful system on the market to win, as long as you attach the mainstream. How many people's grandmothers bought the Wii because you could bowl? So I think in this case, you're gonna have a mom that goes in. They have a choice between Scorpio and the PS4 Pro. Scorpio will be $500, I think, at this point, and I do think that the Pro will drop to $350. They both say 4K on the outside. Which one does she buy?
Mm-hmm. The funny thing is that people, even with the Pro being out, like, people are still just buying PS4. PS4 still outsells Pro quite a bit. Like, Sony's not even releasing numbers on Pro particularly. So
they lump it into the PS4.
Exactly. So I mean, I don't really think people just aren't really. I think it'll be for a few years now. People just aren't going to be ready. They don't need 1080p is fine for a lot of people. It's cheaper. Like, PS4 is what, $299, $250 or $299? You can get it for $250 or $299.
Realistically, if you actually shop, you get it for $250.
Yeah. So I mean, that's fine. Just buy a PS4. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, Scorpio was going to be more expensive. I just don't see. It's going to be cool. Don't get me wrong. I think it's going to be cool. Yeah. You know.
What's interesting to note, though, is if people are freaking out about it releasing at, say, 500 even. The original Xbox One released at 500. We all remember this, right? in 2013 even.
With that Kinect, with that.
Oh, gosh. They do not care about the Kinect. And it seriously, it's insane to me, because it is the exact same thing that happened to the Kinect on the 360. Like, the exact same thing.
I still don't even know why they decided to even bring it over to the freaking one. Like,
I don't
after
know.
seeing how much everyone trashed it, ragged on it, how the companies that showed all the cool technology for it that never came to pass.
No.
Why? Why would you continue that legacy of pain and anger?
I think they're just blinded by the money that Kinect brought in. You know what I'm saying? Like, the amount of. Because it sold really well on the Xbox 360. Like, it sold so well. So I think they're just blinded by that. They had their tunnel vision, kind of like how Nintendo does sometimes with some of their, their things. They just kind of had their tunnel vision on, like, we're going to do it this way because it sold. So, I mean,
but Nintendo seems to get it worse from fans, which is weird.
But it sold mostly in package formats to people, and a lot of those people traded that stuff back into us and kept the systems. Like, we had Kinects just sitting on a desk behind us, and no one wanted that stuff.
You had to move Kinects to put more Kinects away.
Hey man, I agree. There was the used market on the Kinect. I mean, you could get one for really cheap on the 360. Like, if you really wanted a Kinect, you never had to pay full price for it. You could always get.
We were selling them for $20 at one point.
Yeah, $20.
And the only reason I could think of it, and I think we talked about this, John, was that they were trying to resurrect their old idea of having a device in a room that's reading metadata on the people playing it to try to advertise specific things to them, because that was a patent Microsoft had in for the Kinect specifically. So,
it was one of the scariest things I've ever seen, because this was when they were first coming out with the idea for the Xbox One and the Kinect being almost attached. Because if you remember, at one point it was pitched that you needed it to be attached for it to work. Right, it wouldn't work. Yeah. So their idea was that if you watch a movie, for example, they would get the technology to the point where it could count how many people were in the room and then charge you accordingly for renting the movie. So they were seriously trying. This was a thing for a few
you're
months.
Right. It was a thing that
it was a scary thing, and they were going to get to the point where the Kinect could read your heartbeat and decide when it was best to show you certain ads based on how hyped up you were about something that was going on TV or in the game, for example. Let's say you're on the menu and you can tell how fast your heartbeat's going. Oh, we're going to show them this Doritos ad here.
If this actually went through, Microsoft would have made a killing on advertising revenue. If this actually happened, advertisers would have paid so much for this. So I can see why they wanted to, but it's just a horrible concept. But Philip, man, like, what do you think on the whole Scorpio thing? I think you didn't really get your take on it.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I'm gonna get one. I'm not as hyped up as I was about it when it was first announced. But I have a PS4 Pro. and I gamed on it a lot when I got it, like a month or two after it came out. I also have a 4K TV that I got with the PS4 Pro.
Oh, it was a bundle?
No. I like at the same time I bought him.
Oh,
Yeah. So I don't know. Like it's okay, but at the same time, I think that the masses, the majority of people out there, they don't have a 4K TV. Still, like we said earlier, I think the majority of the people are still gaming on 1080p. And for me, even though I do have a 4K TV, I'm looking forward to more of like Scorpio's like just graphical enhancements towards games and the fact that it does run on a 1070 or the equivalent of. So I don't know. I think that for me, I've always leaned more towards the Microsoft or Xbox side when it came to console gaming, because that's where all of my games or all my friends play on Xbox Live or whatever. So I think that as long as it has games to bring with it, it's going to do well. But we don't have any good exclusives from Microsoft coming out, right? Phantom Dust, maybe. I
have that game on the original Xbox right over here.
I'm going to buy it, but I don't know who else is, you know.
Yeah,
so
and there's it's going to come out on the PC. Evan, who does not have an Xbox, can buy every game that you will buy on your Xbox with his PC. So, and here's the thing: he doesn't have to pay for Xbox Live.
Yeah, it's curious to see, what Microsoft is doing. I'm wondering what happened to their, because the Xbox 360 to me was the best. Yes. I liked it the most last generation, or whatever generation that we're in. I'm not sure where we're at this point with Pro and Switch and all this, but 7th generation, I love the Xbox 360. There were so many unique exclusive games ranging from third party to first party. I mean, timed exclusives, just all sorts of stuff. Japanese games, we got stuff like Lost Odyssey, Blue Dragon, Eternal Sonata. There was just a lot of different games that were exclusive or timed. Star Ocean 4 came out first on the Xbox 360. I'm wondering what happened to that. I'm kind of wondering, like, Microsoft from the Xbox 360 to the Xbox One just seemed to just be like, well, we don't care about that stuff anymore. And that's kind of where they lost me. Now, I don't talk about it a lot, but it's something that's kind of irked me just a little bit with the Microsoft brand, because I have all those games on the 360. I think that they're fantastic, and I think that Microsoft did a great job with games. Obviously, their system blew up at times with Red Ring of Death, but outside of that, their games were great. So I'm wondering what their strategy is.
I think it's more like a customer shift, like a user base shift, kind of like what the big issue was with Nintendo for a while for a lot of people, was that their user base, it was more seen to be for children and everything, and the bulk of the games did reflect that. And I think for some reason they're now reflecting a different user base that they want for the Xbox One for some reason than what really got the 360 up off its feet and had it running and just going crazy. Because we're not really seeing as many of those big explosive titles, the firework button games of just press a button, watch everything go crazy on your screen type stuff. I don't know what they're doing overall, but we have talked about them shutting out the exclusive titles, I guess on the last podcast and even in some other videos. It's going to be kind of weird because they definitely have to have a lineup the moment they really come down with a price point for Scorpio to actually matter at all in most people's mind. Like, Philip, you're probably going to not want it if they just go, here's the system, and then they don't tell you anything else. Like, you've got nothing coming.
Yeah, exactly. Because right now, like, there aren't any exclusives coming in the foreseeable future that I would get. Like, I'm a huge Halo fan, but Halo 6 isn't coming out anytime soon. Maybe, yeah. Like, I don't even think we're going to hear about it at E3, right? So
maybe, right?
Consider the fact that Microsoft had good exclusives with 360 and they lost them. BioShock was a 360 exclusive. It was only on Microsoft's side. Dead Rising, same way. Mass Effect is now all over the place, but it was only on Microsoft's console. So they have done nothing but lose or cancel games. Scalebound, a game that I was looking forward to so much, is never going to see the light of day, probably.
Oh, man, that one hurt.
Yeah,
that one hurt.
even some of the lesser known but still impressively conceptual titles like Pray for the Gods, that's coming out across all the consoles, and it'll be cool to see if it actually touches the Switch, because at the time it was being announced, the Switch wasn't really a thing for it to port to. But as we saw with Battle Chasers Night War, even though the Kickstarter only went through for the main consoles that were out at the time, with the Switch's release, they just did it. They were able to just toss it to the Switch and have it actually work. So it'll be cool to see if that all starts folding over to the Switch as well. And then, Scorpio still just doesn't have anything rolling for it.
Yeah, it's going to be weird. I just feel like Microsoft's doing the complete opposite. They're trying to give you the best third-party experience you can get, and the other two systems are trying to bring you games you can only get on that system. So it's
Do you
a
think,
weird strategy.
Do you think we'll see any Oculus support with Scorpio?
Yes, that has to be a thing because they already have their their hands in the Oculus basically, and I have to imagine them and Facebook are working right now probably to plug it into Scorpio. That's probably the big reason. One of the big reasons anyway that Scorpio is a thing is because the original Xbox, I cannot see how that could run any type of VR. With how
it's not
powerful it is.
because it's not just the textures; it's the frame rate. If the frame rate's too low, it feels horrible.
It's running DDR3 memory for everything. You're not going to run that at a high resolution, and if you run anything like 720p and split that in half, it's not going to be good for what they're trying to push in that system.
I see.
So yeah,
we'll see what happens with that. It's going to be really interesting. I'm just excited because it's another device. It's competition. It's going to be something that's out there on the market. Gives people options, so that's nothing wrong with another option.
All I want from Microsoft are games. That's all I want. They have their beast. Just give it some games to play on it.
I think that's going to be interesting if they actually do, because like you said, like it's going to be the go-to place for third-party content. But but Sony's bringing out so many, maybe on some of their own accord paying for it, but even sometimes just developers just saying, well, it's just going to be on Sony just because it sold this many units, So like we're seeing Persona, we're seeing Neo, we're seeing Nier Automata, and there's more. There's like more coming from these Japanese developers, and these are high quality games. So I would hope that maybe Microsoft can get into that or make their own. I mean, they have the Lost Odyssey franchise. I mean,
here's the problem. When you look at the sales charts in Japan and you look down the charts and you see that the Xbox One has sold 17 consoles in a week. There is a problem. They have probably sold more Saturn games because the original Xbox One launch, a person went to the store, no one was there. They placed signs above the Xbox One and stuff that basically referred to it as American fecal matter, and the guy's going through the store and there are sealed Saturn games, new Saturn games there. I have a feeling more Saturn games sold that week than Xbox One consoles.
You didn't have to bring that up.
I mean, there's a reason Phil Spencer is getting on a private plane and flying to Japan and asking Japanese developers to develop for him. Personally, when he gets on a plane and goes there, there's a problem.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I don't think there's going to be anything that he can do at this point, especially with the Japanese market, the way that it's shaking out. It's pretty obvious. Hybrid thingies are probably going to be the way of the future.
Yeah.
It's like for them, like I would not be surprised if Sony's patent becomes a reality at some point.
But they would have to use AMD because I have a feeling Nvidia is locked up pretty well with Nintendo. So they would have to use AMD's Merlin chipset, which is not anything like the Tegra chipset. It would be very difficult, I think, for Sony to really fund that in good spirits and think that it's going to do well. They would have to come up with something. I don't even know what, unless Vega somehow makes it into an SoC of some kind for portable units. That would be really interesting to see that, because then Nvidia would have to step up their game. So
yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
It could be very interesting. So now let me jump over here real quick. Are you guys familiar at all with G2A, the marketplace?
Is that the PC downloading type
That's
deal?
the one where you go on there and you buy a key and you put it into.
Didn't Epic back them, or was that a different one?
That was it was the people who did Bulletstorm.
People could fly, right?
It was I think it was Gearbox, I think.
I thought Gearbox helped. I thought People Could Fly did Bulletstorm. Huh.
People Could Fly did Bulletstorm. Yeah, People Could Fly did Bulletstorm, and then it was also backed, I think, by Epic. Epic, the first one.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I mean, the remaster they just did.
Because I know Cliffy B was advertising that game when it originally came out.
Okay, yeah, no, it is. It's Gearbox. Gearbox did the Bulletstorm full clip edition, the new one that just came out. Okay. And the idea was they were partnering with G2A. It breaks up. It's really ugly, and it just did not end well. I don't know if you guys followed any of this, but I was following this very
someone
closely.
Like tweeted them. They're like, "Why are you backing people who sell stolen copies of games?" And then it just exploded.
It was total biscuit.
What happened?
Okay, so here's what happened. Gearbox. Okay, so G2A. If you don't know G2A well, they are a gray market company. They sell keys. So you can go on there. It's almost like the eBay of digital keys. You put keys up, people will buy them from you, and supposedly the transaction goes smoothly. A lot of times it does, but a lot of times it doesn't. And what happens is developers do not like G2A. Like, it's comically bad how much they hate G2A because most of the time G2A will get money and the developers won't because of fraudulent purchases.
Yeah, like one of the core things was people would steal like Steam gift cards from like GameStops and stuff, buy games with them, and then sell the games through G2A to make money.
Yep. Yeah. So what would happen is this is very the Tiny Build. Evan, you know Tiny Build, obviously, right? You liked a lot of their games. I like a lot of their games. They made Mr. Shifty, for example. Yes. So what happened was this was about a year and a half ago, and I'm trying to remember which game this was. But basically, what happened was they went through G2A, and people stole credit cards, bought stacks of Steam keys, and I mean like 1,000 Steam keys at a time. Bought them. It takes about 30 days for chargebacks to happen. So in their mind, they take the stack of keys, they go to G2A, and then they sell them, all of them there for half the value of what developers are trying to sell them in their regular Steam store or Origin or wherever they're trying to sell them, right? And I wish I could remember what game it was for Tiny Build, but Tiny Build to this day claims that after chargebacks, they ended up losing about $1 million.
Oh my goodness. And
G2A, of course, because they are getting legit purchases, right? Because it's not the person who stole the credit card that is buying from G2A. It's an actual like everyday person, you, me, or whoever. Those transactions stay correct. They do not get charged back. So G2A just basically gets all this money, and the developers lose a ton of money despite their game being out there right now. So the real problem is G2A does not police their stuff at all, and they don't care to. So what happened was, this is really funny. If you guys get a chance, go back and watch this. There is a Twitch stream where they send, for some stupid reason, they send a developer, well, not a developer, a sales associate for G2A to a developers conference. And they have questions and stuff from the audience, and it was almost a massacre, like in real life, to where people almost fought this guy.
I need to watch this.
It was amazing. Like, some of the questions were great. Like, they did everything they could to heckle this guy. And he's trying to explain to them in circles, like PR spin at its finest. And we get to a point where people are asking them why. So what happens with G2A, you have to purchase buyer protection. Like, if you go on eBay, for example, you are protected automatically when you make a purchase. With G2A, you have to buy a subscription service to be protected. So what happens is they're asking them all these questions. Why is it so hard to not? Why is it so hard to cancel this service, right? Like, why does it take you guys forever? You have to go through all these steps. And the guy is like, well, it takes us a while. First of all, our workforce is made up of 40% women.
What?
No.
Yeah, oh my gosh. This guy buries G2A. If you get a chance, it's the funniest thing. I showed some clips in Newswave, and I've talked about it at length. It's the funniest thing you can watch. People in the chat were blowing up. Tiny Build shows up in the chat and starts making fun of it.
Oh my goodness. That's a great way there. So because of women, that's the reason. What kind of stupidity is that?
Yeah. It's one of the best things I've ever seen, because I personally don't like G2A. It's a gray market. What happens is people, you call them scalpers, call them resellers. They buy from, say, Russia, where the Steam key is like 30% of what it is in America, and then they take it, resell it in America. The developer prices these accordingly to the economies that they're selling in to help the consumer out. But then, of course, resellers take advantage of it, and the developers end up losing money. So I always like when G2A gets kind of pooped on. It's really funny. So that was a good time. I was very happy about that. But I will, you know what I'll do? I bookmarked it because it was so funny. I will put, let me see. I'll put this in the chat for you guys, and I'll put it in the main chat for everyone else to watch too. It starts at about 5 minutes. Whenever you get a chance, enjoy it and watch it. It's a good time. But I will put that there too. So there's that. Anything else you guys wanted to bring up while we're on stream here on podcast? Oh, you know what? I should ask you guys, what did you guys play this week? We'll end with all of that.
Oh yeah, sounds good. Evan, you can start first.
I haven't been able to play.
He's playing
much.
Gigantic.
I've been going between Gigantic and just checking out other things online, but I've been too busy doing all my other stuff right now.
Okay, so I know you're doing a lot of artwork. I know that. You're still doing a lot of live streaming for your art channel, Evan?
I'm going to be getting back to that this week because
I remember remember we did a you were doing a live stream, and then I was playing a game, and we like rated your live stream. which was great. So yeah, guys, if you don't know, Evan does a lot of really cool artwork on Twitch. So if you get a chance, check him out. He'll like stream him like doing some really cool drawings and stuff, and he takes requests on there for fun as well. So told him to do some video game stuff, like do like Nintendo stuff with Link, or like I don't know, really any video game stuff is really popular. So
and occasionally I'll probably be working on stuff for the channel, so you might get some previews of what's coming up for, I guess, new layouts and things for videos.
Okay, so what we'll do is we'll go around, talk about what we've played, and then we'll take some questions from the live chat, guys. Don't worry, I didn't forget about you guys. I see you asking when you'll have live questions, so we'll do that next. But let's, OJ, what have you been playing this week, man?
Persona, just a lot of Persona 5. That's pretty much my game that I play a lot. It's really good. It's just really good. It's fun. So I'm past the, I'm not gonna, no spoilers, guys. I'm past the death point from Atlas, where they said you better not stream this.
Let me ask you, as big as possible, would it have really damaged people's experiences?
No, like Atlas is being insane. Atlas is being crazy. Like, at that point, dude, there's still like tons more with the game. You don't even have like, you only have like less than 50% of your characters. You only have like half of your cast. You don't. There's a whole second half of cast that you get from that point on. I don't know what Atlas themselves showed off content past 7.7, the day 7.7. I have very early. If you go back and watch the TGS 2015 trailer, there is a scene from well past 7.7 in there.
They strike that channel.
Their own channel. I have no idea what Atlas is doing. There is nothing that's spoilerish. There is nothing that's wrong. If you buy the special edition, there's characters from there on the box that are past the 7.7 day. Like, they are. I have no idea what Atlas is thinking when they're saying don't stream past 7.7. There's nothing. Now I can understand like maybe like well past 7.7, like where you get into maybe like the fall semester and all of that. Then okay, once you get everyone, and then you're going into some of the stuff, and maybe there's some plot points with certain things. But for them to say not past that point is ridiculous. That is absolutely, there's nothing that they've already showed it themselves. They're crazy.
That's insane. Oh, man.
But yeah, I'm playing Persona, and I'm going to be trying to get back into Nier Automata.
Oh, nice.
And I've been playing like Zelda, of course, still trying to get everything in that. So those are the games I've been playing. I'm having a lot of fun, obviously, with Persona though. So.
And I assume next Friday is going to be mostly Mario Kart, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm going to be having some tournaments and playing probably with all of you guys, too. Nice. So, yeah, it'll be fun. I'm pretty sure we can maybe do like a Spawn Wave versus PlayerEssence. I think that'd be cool.
Yeah, that'd be
at some point.
Philip, what have you been playing this week, man?
Like you, I've kind of been having fun with Wonder Boy. Yes. I never played the original, so like this is my first experience with it, and it's awesome. Did you figure out that little trick, by the way, to have it like stuck in half retro and half?
I saw a video. I didn't try it though. No, I haven't done that yet.
You can actually get that line stuck anywhere on the screen. You can get it like 1/8 retro, 1/3 retro. It's kind of cool. So I've been playing that. I also started a second run with Breath of the Wild, which is crazy. But that's how much I love it. It's just so much fun. So I'm gonna go back and do things a little differently, different orders. But yeah, those are the two that I've been kind of focusing on. A little bit of Puyo Puyo Tetris, just because I have the Japanese version, so I'm always kind of like picking that up real quick.
That's coming to America soon, isn't it?
The 25th. Yep.
Oh, next week. Yeah, I'll be buying that too. Very good. Very good. Yep. Yeah, I've been mostly playing Wonder Boy for the most part, and then I played some Mr. Shifty. That was fun. I had a good time with that. But for the most part, did you see? I got to find somebody who has a Master System version of that. But when you take the password from Wonder Boy, you can actually put it into the Master System version, and it'll start your game up there.
No way. Are you serious?
Isn't that cool? Yeah, that's why the password system's there.
Wow,
that's awesome.
Yeah, I thought that was the coolest thing, is that you could do that. So they went serious true to form with that the retro in that game.
That's awesome.
So let's jump over to the chat before we close up here, and let's take a few questions from the audience. We have 343 people watching right now. And let's see what people want to know. Of course, they were asking questions after I said that while we were talking, so I had to scroll up. But let's just start here. Let's see. Can you guys see the chat on your end?
Yeah.
Very cool. E3 predictions. Okay, that's a good one. E3 predictions. I should really start asking this when we have guests on here. Just ask them what they think. Okay, so OJ, what do you think Nintendo is going to bring to the table at E3 in terms of games? I think Virtual Console and at this point the online service I feel like is a lock. But what do you think about games?
Yeah, I would think we're going to see what retro studios. Let's not talk about the obvious things like Super Mario Odyssey, right, and all the stuff that they've already announced.
Sure.
So just talk about the new stuff. I think we're going to see what retro studios has been working on because they're working on a Nintendo Switch game. So we'll see what that is, and I also think we're going to see what Next Level Games is working on. Maybe we get a Luigi's Mansion. That's what I'm thinking will happen. So yeah, Metroid and Luigi's Mansion will probably be the two games that I'm thinking is going to happen at this year's E3 for Nintendo.
Metroid Prime.
A Metroid game, maybe not Prime, but just
I want Prime.
Some type of Metroid game. Maybe they go do something really different. Maybe not. I'm gonna say something. I'm gonna say Metroid Other M, but don't get triggered by people. Always get triggered if you mention Metroid Other M. So I'm just gonna say maybe they do something trying to innovate, not like Metroid Other M, but something that's a little bit different in the Metroid franchise. Maybe they do that. Or maybe it's a standard Prime game. I'm just thinking there's going to be some type of Metroid game, but I think it's really going to try to stay true to the original Metroid route. So I think they're really going to try to do something like that with the game.
Sure. I mean, I'd be okay with that. I liked Prime a lot. I was a big Prime fan. So.
Well, I mean, even like with the original Metroid, as far as just like the style of the game, and even in the Prime like format, right? You can
kind of mix them together.
Yeah, mix it together. Maybe even have 2D parts. Maybe there's even some things you do like that. Who knows? But yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And Luigi's Mansion, I think, would probably be coming as well. And some third-party games too. Some third-party ports we probably.
Sure. I mean, who saw Payday 2 coming? So
nobody.
Which is an awesome game. If nobody in the chat has played that, if you have it on, if you get on Steam, go play it. It's a fun game. Anyway, let's see. Philip, what do you think's going to be at E3, man?
I still think Metroid is coming. I know I talked about that on the last podcast, but I still think that's definitely a possibility. Now that I see other people are also talking about it as well. But I'd love to see it in sort of like a totally new way, in a way that we haven't really seen it. Maybe something along the lines of like how Tomb Raider was rebooted and we have like a third person, or I mean, it's always looked that way, but I would like to see it in the vein of Tomb Raider, sort of third person, like lots of exploration, open world, being able to go from planet to planet, stuff like that.
Experience points too, like when you kill certain enemies, you get the experience to upgrade your weapons and stuff like that.
I think every game should have experience points.
I like this guy.
That, of course, that would be amazing. But yeah, and then also Virtual Console, that's obviously like a huge thing. Other than that, it's really hard to tell. It would be really cool to hear about a new Smash, or not a new Smash, but at least maybe them bringing a Smash from the Wii U. Yeah. So that would be a lot of fun. I definitely think that they're going to maximize on multiplayer games, online games. So we're going to see something along those lines. But yeah, Metroid and Virtual Console are my two big ones.
What do you think about E3, Evan?
I mean, I think we already talked about this a little bit the last time, but in thinking about it, if it is going to be heavily based on multiplayer and they do aim for a Metroid, we might be seeing a little bit of the aspects of a Metroid with multiplayer functionality in it somehow. Yeah.
I mean, they did that with Metroid Prime 2. I remember that, if I'm thinking right, where it was like a first-person shooter. And Hunters, yeah.
Yep, and Hunters.
But if you think about it, usually what Nintendo does in a cycle is if they start putting out a bunch of games that we're all familiar with, they try to hit us with a title that we haven't seen in a while, like when they brought back Luigi's Mansion, when they brought back Pikmin and stuff like that. So maybe we'll see something along that line instead, maybe. Sure. I don't know if it'll be highlighted. In classic Nintendo fashion, it might be highlighted as a big thing.
I mean, Nintendo tries to be different, so yeah. I mean, they come to the table with at least something that's unexpected most times. So
like a Star Tropic, something like that, something I've completely
but done for modern times, or upgraded heavily to be almost not even the game it was, even though it'll still have aspects of it, and it might be truly interesting, especially with the Switch being what it is, a touchscreen, basically more interactive than normal tablet. What could that bring to an older title that we haven't seen in forever?
Interesting. Okay, yeah. So I'm just gonna say that the crazy stuff, since nobody else did. I would like to see Kingdom Hearts. Okay, or really, you can give me Kingdom Hearts or Final Fantasy VII remake. I don't think it'll be a remake though, because I think that is a Sony exclusive, at least a timed exclusive for a little while. But the more I think about Kingdom Hearts on the Switch, the more I think it makes sense, and the more I think they can do it if the licensing is there. but it's going to come down to if Nintendo can strike a deal with Square, who seems a little more interested in working with Nintendo recently, probably because of the success of the Switch. But I would like to see that, and if I had to really reach into a bag and pick a game, I would like to see a new Golden Sun if possible.
I've been saying that for quite some time, and people just told me to shut up because I kept on saying it, so I stopped. But yeah, I would like to see a Golden Sun.
But realistically, Nintendo should look at this E3 as, hey, let's go make an impact, because Microsoft's showing up with their game console and not much else. They don't have a lot of floor space. Sony is going to bring it to E3. Obviously, we all know that they do it most E3s. This is a chance for Nintendo to really walk out on stage, point to the screen, Kingdom Hearts plays, boom, Kingdom Hearts is there. Oh, look, here's Pokemon, here's Smash Bros, here's Metroid, here's Donkey Kong. And all of a sudden, these games are piling up, and even if half of them come out, this year, that's a big win with Mario Odyssey and Xenoblade and Shin Megami, sitting there waiting for them on the other side.
I agree. Yeah, I would like them to come out, especially if there was a new Smash, because I don't think I told you guys, but I mean, I'm a competitive player here in my region.
Cool.
I'm going to start playing more in tournaments and everything, and I practice Smash daily at this point. So I also play that too, but I almost don't talk about it because it's just it's my daily Smash practice. But yeah, if they were able to actually put out a new Smash Brothers game, I think that would be really good, because a lot of the competitive Smash Bros players really want that. They all have Switches, and they'll play and stream Switches as far as the top players. And they're just waiting for that Smash game, and they're waiting for the tournament scene, because having a Switch for Smash Brothers and taking that to a tournament is a much easier setup than bringing your Wii U gamepad, and all that, where you can just bring your Switch and your dock, bam, it's right there, plug it in and play. And even if they did the virtual console with the GameCube Melee, if it's exactly like it is, you can have basically Smash 4 tournaments and Melee tournaments right there with that one system. That would be a big help.
I mean, I have to give it to Nintendo. They do seem interested in the competitive scene heavily with the Switch. I mean, we saw the trailer of them with Splatoon 2, the guys all kind of in a circle, all kind of mapping out their plans and everything. So they at least get the idea of esports and competitive play. And Smash Bros. On the Switch makes a lot of sense for that. Just traveling to conventions with your Switch is basically your system.
I would want them to do both. If there's a GameCube Virtual Console, and if there's and if there's Smash 4, because one of the big reasons, I wouldn't say the main reason obviously, but Smash Brothers on the GameCube and on the Smash Brothers Melee, and one of the big reasons why I think that system did well is because all the Melee people, they had to buy a Wii in order to set it up. If you watch any of the tournaments, they're all playing on Wiis. All of the Melee crew, they're not using GameCubes. They all bought Wiis to play this one game in their tournaments, because it's much easier to set up a Wii for tournament play than it is to set up a GameCube. Yeah, it was much easier for them, so they could just do that. And most of the time, when there was Brawl tournaments too, they would just have it right there. Everyone just brought a Wii, and that was it. So if they could do the same thing with the Switch, I think that would also be a big help, because I still haven't seen some of the GameCube top GameCube players really talk about Switch enough. So. Yeah,
I have to give it to Nintendo. They're in a good position, and it really comes down to what they can do at E3 to really set it off and then make a run at that holiday season, because it's it's there, right? I mean, everything to basically win this year is right in front of them if they can make it happen.
I'm just gonna go ahead and say that I cannot believe that all of us forgot to say Pokemon. Maybe Pokemon coming out. That's probably one of the biggest predictions though for Nintendo.
Pokemon Stars makes a lot of sense. Pokemon will sell that system. It's single-handedly made the 3DS impossible to find in the holiday season, despite Nintendo actually supplying them. The 3DS is just sold really well. I mean, Pokemon Sun and Moon, 4.5 million in 1 month, which is obscene. And so Pokemon Stars, if they make it compatible with the 3DS, to me, it makes their strategy even more sound by keeping the 3DS around for another year or so, because Pokemon works between them. You trade, you battle, you do the online service, and really Pokemon is all they need. I remember I've talked to so many people on different podcasts, and they don't understand the selling power of Pokemon. It boggles my mind, mostly because they are more into the PlayStation and Xbox scene, and they miss out on how much Pokemon actually sells a system. If you put Pokemon on the Switch is going to sell, I think, 10 million units if Nintendo can provide it in its first eight months.
Yeah,
I agree. If there's a Pokemon like Sun and Moon, and it's an enhanced version of it, or even new Pokemon game, it will do extremely, extremely well with that Pokemon game. We saw what Pokemon did you know, Pokemon has been around, but even for the original Game Boy, when Pokemon launched for that, I mean, Game Boy was already popular, but it exploded the popularity. Like it even made it like it was crazy, like fever pitch. And then, you know, Game Boy Advance, I mean, Pokemon, in such a small amount of time, Game Boy Advance sold a lot. You know, for such a small amount of time that was really out on the market, and that was because of Pokemon too. So
that game calls the great link cable shortage of '99.
Oh yeah, where you couldn't find one anywhere. I was just like, well, you just can't trade.
You just give up. Yeah, it was like that. And I remember there was a PS2 memory card shortage way back in the day too that I hated Sony for the longest time. Back then, memory cards were like $200.
The biggest strength, though, about Pokemon is forcing people to have to buy more than one system per household, because that's always the thing. I mean, with everyone talking about, I play the Switch, but then my brother plays the Switch, and this other person plays my Switch, so I don't get on it a lot. Pokemon comes out, everyone's going to want to play that all at the same time, to try to keep up with each other, to try to trade with each other, fight each other. So that's going to really bring on the multiple Switch households like heavily, more so than it probably is right now.
Me and my brother both had a Game Boy. We both played Pokemon like crazy and traded against each other on the original Game Boy. It was magical time when that game came out. So
yeah, with my brother had a regular Game Boy, like the classic brick, and we played it. We swapped between each other. But the moment Pokemon landed, I got a color, he got a color, and then that was it. Like
that was a wrap.
All right, guys, we can take a couple more questions from the chat. What else do we got, guys? I know we all got everyone just started spitting out E3 stuff in the chat when we started talking about it. It was just games all over the place in the chat. I like that one. Zombie Ate My Neighbors too. That's a cool idea.
Oh, interesting. I used to play that game a lot when I was a kid.
Yeah, there's some creative games in the chat actually. That's interesting.
Who owns that license anymore? I mean, who owns that? I don't even know who owns that.
I'd have to dig up for that, because I know someone also talked about, I think, the Darksiders thing, which was interesting, because I guess I don't know who owns that one either, but Joe Madureira, the guy that was head of the company that did that, is the one currently doing the freaking Battle Chasers Night War stuff. So and he's owned by THQ Nordic, so maybe Nordic owns
THQ Nordic owns the license for Darksiders.
Yeah,
they own it.
Let's see. Are you guys attending any conventions coming up?
No, but I will be at Smash Brothers stuff in the SoCal region. So probably this year. So if you guys like competitive Smash Brothers, like maybe like some of the 2GG events that are going on, I'll be there at some of them in the summertime and on.
Okay. Oh gosh, that's right. Did you guys see Siberia 3? Someone was asking about Siberia 3 on the Switch. Did you guys see the trailer for that at all?
Yeah, I did. The faces.
Oh man, the lip sync is not good. It is really bad.
The faces and the lip sync, man. Like some dude had so many wrinkles and definitions in his face. It was like they spent the whole graphics engine on this dude's face.
Like I really think the PS2's lip syncing is better than Siberia 3, and that's not good. Like any game on the PS2, and that's not good.
Oh man, but I mean, we'll see what happens.
I don't know. I don't think it's going to be a particularly good game for graphics or anything like that. But maybe if you enjoy the story, you would like it. That's all I could really think. I think it'll run the same for the most part across most of the systems, just because it doesn't look like a heavily graphics aren't super heavy in that game. But it'll be interesting. Let me see. Any other questions? Oh yeah, I asked about conventions. Philip, are you pretty much on the West Coast from now on? You're not coming back to the East Coast at all?
No, I might come back to the East Coast back in June or in May.
Yeah, because you should consider coming back up for June, because Too Many Games is in June.
Okay.
And I know I'm gonna attempt to get there. I probably will. I know who you call it's getting up there too. I keep seeing him post about it. I think RGT85 is going there too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think he is.
Yeah, but Evan and I have gone to Too Many Games, like, well, at least I have. We've been doing that for a while, right? Like 5 years, Evan, something like that.
4 or 5. I think 5 for business, but then we started just hanging out there more.
Yeah, we used to sell there, so for a store.
Nice.
That's something I'm going to try to get to. I want to try to get to more conventions. I can go to E3 technically, but I can't go as much as I'd like to. But you're going, right, Philip?
I'm still working on getting that media pass. Like I can get a consumer pass, but
they didn't give you a media pass at all?
No, I'm still trying to get in contact with them and stuff. I was late for the registration.
Talk to OJ about that. He actually
I went 3 years. I went 3 years in a row.
Oh, really? Nice.
Yeah. I went 2014, 15, and 16. It's a little bit harder for smaller YouTubers. I think the cutoff, I mean, unless they change the rules, it's 50,000 subscribers. Unless they change the rules. If you have a website, it's much easier with like the type of traffic that you need to bring in. Because that's how I used to get it beforehand, was PlayerEssence.com, where, and I don't really do that as much now. I'm more of a YouTuber. So I mean, I can definitely help you as far as, you know, getting in.
Hey, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, no problem, dude.
Thanks, man.
Philip's gonna get some B-roll and stuff. So
yeah. I mean, I'll go. You know, even if I don't go as media, I'll go as a consumer just to get that B-roll and talk about it. But I'm definitely going to Comic-Con. That's in San Diego. That's where I live. So it's gonna be amazing. I try and go every year, and it's always a lot of fun. And there's more and more video game stuff every year. Last year they had some crazy stuff, like EA had a thing, and Microsoft always has a thing. So I'm really excited about that. That's gonna be fun. And
so you guys are in like the awesome part of the United States. We're in like Evan and I are in like the boring part.
Where I live, particularly, I live in Central California. It's kind of boring, but I'm very close to Los Angeles. I am about an hour away from Los Angeles. I mean, it takes me really quick to get to E3. Like, I get in my car, go to it's right there, man. It's like right past Magic Mountain.
That's nice.
Go, and it's right there. So
yeah. Evan and I in like the middle of nowhere, kind of. I mean, we're like we're like
wasteland.
Yeah. We're like, I mean, I guess technically we're like 2.5 hours from New York, right? So we're not. Like,
and the closest. I mean, we got Bethesda kind of close to us.
Yeah, but like it takes us like 50 minutes to get to Philadelphia, so we're not like far away from any like major city or anything. But there's nothing really where we are. It's very boring.
Yeah, and Philly is kind of like the poor man's any convention. It's never you never hear about them as much as the New York or anything in Cali.
Yeah,
it's all good.
But it's I mean, but the fortunate thing is too many games is like an hour from us, so it's not that bad. It's Philadelphia Greater Expo Center, so it's not bad. I just wish there was more stuff out here for us. Although the internet's kind of fixed that. So,
you know, real quick, there was one thing, because like I told you about my sister, how she lived in kind of the same area as you, when she told me that she lived like about Bethesda, and I asked her about that. And I was like, do they have like, you guys remember Fallout 3? Like all the underground tunnels. I asked her if it was like that there. That's the stupid things that I would say to my sister about that area. It was an honest question. She looked at me like she was about to slap me. So,
so that's good stuff. Is there anything else you guys wanted to bring up before we close up?
But thanks for having me. It was a great podcast. You guys are all really awesome.
Oh yeah, no, we it's a pretty laid back podcast. I don't know, nothing too serious or anything goes on here, so it's pretty straightforward. We did have quite a few people this stream though. I think it topped about 375. So
nice.
We had a pretty good amount of people show up. So I think the video helped. We'll probably stick with video from now on for our podcast.
Just gotta figure out a way for it to not just be a swappy video. We'll work that out.
Yeah, we'll figure that out. But yeah, well, we'd like to have you on again sometime, OJ, man. I'll talk to you more.
Yeah, definitely. Let me know when you guys are going to have it, and it'd be great now that I'm doing YouTube a lot more in terms of work. Yeah, I'd be more than happy to come back on again. Awesome.
Yeah, because we have next week. We have our guest figured out for next week, but beyond that, I mean, we're happy to have you back on again. So
more than happy to come.
Very cool. Oh, if you wanted to go ahead and I guess plug your channel and everything.
Oh, yeah. If you guys don't know about my channel, I mean, if you like SpawnWave's content here, and if you like Filip's content, Nintendo really focused, but I also talk about, it's really more like, I talk about Japanese games. I talk a lot about Japanese RPGs, talk about a lot about that style of game. I also talk about Western stuff too, but really it's just a all-encompassing focused news channel. So I'll cover all the different topics. So and I'll go to various different sites. So if you don't want to go yourself onto different sites, and look at all these different news stories, because I'll talk about like 5 things, you can come to my channel and watch some of my news videos that I do. So yeah, thank you for having me. It's PlayerEssence. You can find me on YouTube here. But yeah, definitely.
Very cool. I'll jump over to the 2 regulars, Filip. I think most people know where they can find you, but if you want to go ahead and let them know anyway.
Yeah, definitely. You can check me out at Filip here on YouTube or on Twitter. I make lots of review videos and Let's Plays, gameplay videos. I'm also giving away a Nintendo Switch. So if you guys need a Switch, check out my channel. You can figure out how to enter that giveaway. It's super simple. Yeah, definitely.
You're doing that at 50,000 subs, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna be giving away a Nintendo Switch at 50,000. So we just hit 24,000 today,
Nice.
and we're averaging at about like 1,000 a week. So
Good,
hopefully it's going well. Can't wait to
get
give it away.
That way you can spend the money. Yeah, get to the point where you gotta spend money. That's good stuff. And then Evan, where can they find you, man?
Anything really, Kimmerix Project. Usually Twitter, Kimmerix Project. I guess we'll have that somewhere at the end of this, but that's where I do all my news. That's where I tell people when I'm doing my streams or when my videos go up. My Kimmerix Games channel is slowing down a little. My little side project that I was working on for the esports scene of Gigantic, because they're having a lot of server issues. So I'm waiting for that to clear up before I start jumping back.
I keep telling you should cover esports, man, as like a channel or a section of SpawnWave. It
is something I wouldn't mind doing if I can put more focus into it. I mean, considering 2022 the Asian Olympic Games is going to have an esports medal.
Cool.
Only one game announced so far. It was FIFA. We'll see what else happens with it.
Nice.
That's very interesting, actually. I did not know that. That's cool.
They're gonna dry run it. They're apparently doing a dry run at the end of this year, I think, and next year to kind of see the format of it before it actually becomes a thing in 2022.
Very good, very good, very cool. I like that. Yeah, you should consider that, Evan. I would do that. I would do a either a section of SpawnWave or a channel just about esports news. The results. But very cool, very cool. So I guess that's going to do it for episode 4 of SpawnCast on the 22nd of April, Saturday. And I guess at this point we can sign off. I will say, if you enjoyed the podcast, make sure you hit subscribe. Definitely check out everybody's channel that's here right now, including Evan. I think, how many subscribers do you have, Evan?
On my gaming channel, like 4, because it just started.
What's your gaming channel? What's your gaming channel?
Kimmerix Games.
Kimmerix Games. Okay. What I'm gonna do is it's Kimmerix Games, right? Okay, that's in the chat. Kimmerix Games. Let's get him to 100 subs right away. Just go there and click that sub button and get him to 100 subs, because his art channel is only like 48.
The power has gone to your head, man.
This would be an accomplishment for. Hey, we've rated your stream, man. We blew that thing up to like 100 something people from like 5. So it's
got a bit about the game. As more stuff comes out for it, I'll do more. But then eventually the hope is that as I get more time to do this, esports overall is going to be a thing I'm going to look at.
We'll tell you what, we'll get you. We'll see if we get you 100 subs real quick. At least give you a milestone there. So, but other than that, I think we'll do. I know next weekend we'll do another SpawnCast, and we are going to have. Hold on, I have it written down here. Shane from Re-Res will be our next guest, and then after that, we'll probably have others on. Those are just 2 scheduled. We have OJ for this weekend, Re-Res for next weekend, and then maybe OJ again. So the next weekend, we don't know. We'll see what happens. We'll play it by ear, and I'll put it up on the subreddit, guys. So make sure you go to subreddit and subscribe there as well, so you can talk to myself, Evan, and really anyone else who's there talking about games and all that stuff. So with that, guys, we're signing off, and we'll see you next Saturday night, same time, same place.